right. Well, today we have a very special guest with us. You might know him from season 13 of America's Got Talent. He kind of blew up there on YouTube in different ways. An interesting journey there, I'm sure we'll hear more about. And I said about, which we were just chatting before, and I say very Canadian. As I said there, I'm like, yes, there's the Canadian side of me.
I mean, I think it's beautiful, just personally. It's super nice.
Yeah.
Turn it off. I mean, it's great. So just keep
That's
going.
awesome. It's something interesting. And he's also signed with Goatee, an awesome record label here in Nashville. And so I'm super excited just to hear more of his story. It's Joseph O'Brien. And Joseph, welcome here to the Christian Music Mentor podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm super pumped to be here and super pumped to talk about stuff and just music. Because I mean, this is what I love doing. Is I probably actually enjoy more of the speaking and like the people aspect of like ministry and being in like CCM and all of that, rather than sometimes even the music. I mean, I love music. It's kind of a balance. But anyway, I hopefully I won't talk too much today, so I'll have to chill out just for the because I could talk forever. So anyway, but hey, thank you for having me on here. I'm pumped to be here.
Awesome, amazing. So I'd love to start with just the beginning of the journey. And first of all, I should say and tell the listeners, we met. I don't know how 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe at a music conference here in Nashville, and we haven't seen each other since then.
Yeah.
I've been following your journey, and it's just amazing to see what happens with people even over time with the music industry and people you meet. I wasn't doing this mentoring thing even 2 years ago. You weren't on America's Got Talent a few years ago. You weren't on a record label. You had a different journey. I did read that you come from some music heritage. You have some music in your family. Maybe tell me a bit about growing up, what music and spirituality was like for you kind of growing up.
Yeah, growing up. So my dad and my mom met in a musical band in California called the Heritage Singers. And my dad was like 24, my mom was 19, they got married. And then he was like, I want to pursue music. So they moved over to Nashville. And my dad did a solo thing for a while. He was like, he got some radio success and was doing kind of the thing. And then he joined a band called New Song from 1998 to 2006. And I feel like that was like the time where I think Winter Jam started, like Christmas Shoes released. So I think he hopped on like right at the right time. And then he just realized that, being on New Song was kind of taking him away from like the family just a lot. He just didn't like the traveling schedule, I think. So he was like, you know what, I'm going to take the foot off the pedal. And then he started doing solo stuff again. He's been doing that ever since. And so, I mean, growing up in a family where, your mom and your dad met in a musical musical singing group, it was like expected for every child to pick up some kind of instrument. So like I picked up piano, my older brother picked up guitar, my younger brother picked up drums, and my older sister sang and did violin. So like we were all doing something. And it wasn't an option. Like you had to sing. Like it was very much forced to do so, but like a good force. Like it wasn't, we weren't unhappy about it. And yeah, they were just always really good. My dad's always been a good role model for me as far as what it's like to be in like the industry, but also have a ministry perspective during the whole thing and how you can just walk in and hopefully serve people wherever you go and just be very, again, people oriented and have Christ at the center of the whole thing. So, I mean, it's been great to have parents that really know the industry pretty well, but at the same time, the industry changes all the time. So I'm getting information that's new to them. But the spiritual side pretty much remains the same through and through. But yeah, my dad got he's still doing it too. He's still playing at conferences, still doing concerts, and that's been a blessing for me to see and sometimes get to travel with him and do events with him.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so seeing that, was this something you always aspired to? You had a dream written out or something where I want to be in music, or did it develop in a different way, through your late childhood and teens?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I actually I had two dreams. I wanted to be a tennis pro and I wanted to be a musician.
Nice.
I mean, I always loved music. I don't think I really developed a passion for it till I was about 13 because I started writing songs. And I started like teaching myself piano by ear rather than like all those classical sessions and lessons that my parents put me in. Because I just was like, I was listening to the radio, like CCM radio, because I grew up CCM kid through and through. And I was like, I want to play all these songs I hear on the radio, but like I'm playing hot cross buns like on the piano. And so I just started to kind of I don't know, teach myself on, well, also my dad helped me out too, because he's a piano player, but he's like, hey, here is C, G, A minor, F, have fun. That was basically it. And then I just started learning how to play in different keys and just teaching myself through the time. But also we were big tennis players growing up. Me and my brothers, we all had the dream that we were going to be tennis pros one day, not necessarily like being on tour, but we thought, hey, if we get to teach this for a living, it's a very successful, hopefully living, and get to own a club one day or something, that could be really cool. But it was pretty clear that once I hit about 16 or 17, that passion for tennis just kind of started being pushed to the side, because yeah, it was fun, but there wasn't a lot of like life to it, like music brought me. So I pretty much made the decision that, okay, I'm going to use tennis to get me a scholarship to go to college, play maybe D1 or D2, and then I'll use that so I can focus on music. Well, I ended up going to a college with no tennis program whatsoever and just studied worship and pastoral studies. And so my parents weren't disappointed in me though, because I was really worried. I was like, oh man, if I don't play tennis, are they going to be really upset about all the resources they put in? And no, they were very supportive of me going to the college that I went to, which was great. But yeah, who would have thought? I almost ended up being a singing tennis player, so that would have been interesting.
That's amazing. I love tennis too. Love the racket sports,
really?
tennis, badminton. Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, you never know where the journey takes you, I guess. And so let's fast forward to Immerse. I guess that's where we met. This was something run by the Gospel Music Association, where you kind of learn music and get connected. We were both in a competition for, I can't remember what they called that, Review You or something like that.
Review You, I think is what it was called, yeah.
Yeah, Review You. It's all coming back to me. And so at that point, where were you at with music? Were you just kind of exploring it there? Were you getting pretty serious about it? And I still remember, not exactly your song, but I can remember about your song that it was super cool. It was so original. And I remember thinking, this guy's a real artist, rather than just like, sometimes Christian music can be a bit cookie cutter, but you had just such a cool artist vibe. It was kind of like off the path a bit, but like I loved it because it was super authentic and super original.
Yeah, what's funny is it's very kind that you said you liked the song. I actually know that I probably could finnick away on the piano and figure out what exactly the lyrics and everything was, because I haven't played it in so long. But oh my word, I hate that song. Like now, because I had 2 songs, and it was that one and another one. And I guarantee you, like my dad tells me the story to this day. He's like, if you would have done that other song, you would have done much better, because that one was just weird. And I was like, but it was so cool and it's so different. And again, it was very unique. But looking back, I'm like, man, I should have done a different song. But yeah, Immerse was one of those experiences that honestly, it was really helpful for me, because I think I realized I was always told growing up, like, oh, you're super talented, like you should do music, blah, 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 blah. But then you get to this camp and there's just wickedly talented people left and right. And you're like, okay, so I'm not as like one of a kind as sometimes I felt like I was. And it's like, dang, like there's so many people who are trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, which is pursue music full time. And so that was helpful, because it was kind of a reality check in a sense. But it was great too, because it really helped me understand the importance of community and the importance of like meeting people, and really like, I don't know, getting everyone's perspective on just like what it means to be a musician. Because you really learn, like I've just learned like iron sharpens iron, that just mentality. I feel like I've grown so much as a person, a producer, writer, by really learning from others, and just others pushing me to be the best that I can be, and other people rejecting me in a sense, like other labels, and giving me reasons. Because again, this is all coming to a kid who thought he had it all together. I was like, oh man, I've got all the ability to do what I want in music. And so when people come to you and say, oh, here's what you can work on, I remember at the time it was difficult to hear, but I've learned that failures, even now, like failures are tough, because like I hate to bring this in, but I'm like a 1 on the Enneagram. So perfectionist, like that's who I am through and through. And so failures can be really scary for me, but I've learned that failures, they're so helpful. I mean, again, it's not fun to go through them, but they're so helpful, because you're like, oh, this is what I did wrong, and here's how I can be better in the future. So I've learned to embrace, in a sense, failure, and especially in the music world, a little bit more, because I think it pushes me to be the best artist that I can be. anyway, that was a whole spiel that just started with Immerse, but Immerse
So that's
the
amazing.
whole point is Immerse was very helpful. And I still look back on it with a lot of fond memories because I think it opened my eyes to a lot of what the music industry is actually like.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I love that point of just figuring out where the bar is. And what I find in so many people aspiring to be independent artists and songwriters is they have amazing dreams or they feel like God's given them a vision. I'm going to play for stadiums. I'm going to have worldwide impact, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to be on The Voice or American Idol or whatever it's going to be. And they have no realistic bar for where other people actually are because they don't live in a music city or they don't really expose themselves to things like that where they figure out, okay, I thought I was here, but I'm actually here, which is super discouraging. And I think when I was at Immerse, I even felt that a bit too, because I'm in Canada and, it's not really Christian country or a lot of Christian music happening there. And so you're like, oh, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty good. And then you come to Nashville and you're like, okay, well, there's like a whole nother level happening around here. And so that's so great that you put yourself in those experiences. And, I think through life, we learn the most through our mistakes, failures, or learning experiences. So it's awesome you're already having that. So between Immerse and another milestone, probably America's Got Talent, but what happened in between there with your creative journey, with school, with what you're up to?
Yeah, after Immerse, I graduated high school and I was talking with a label at that point. And again, I thought I had it in the bag. I was like, I'm going to get signed. I'm not going to do college. I'm too cool for that. And then the label was like, hey, you're really talented, but you need to have some life experience. You need to get older. You need to grow in your talent. You need to take vocal lessons. And again, all this was too much for me at the time. I was like, I can't believe it. They can't see how good I am. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I was pretty arrogant, pretty cocky back then. And so, I went to college for 2 years and I just started feeling a little bit of frustration with really what to do with music. Cause I was like, okay, I'm writing these songs, but there's not really a creative outlet. The college that I went to some colleges the college I ended up going to after, when I transferred, have very lively, music, bands are coming out left and right. The music is sought after, in the college, and everyone's trying to, just the music culture is way more thriving. And this first college, there was just nothing going on there. There was no culture that was wanting artists to rise up from it. So I just started experiencing frustration, and it really was just on the, a total whim. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try out for America's Got Talent because I had always seen it on TV. I had always wanted to. But I was always under my parents' roof, and my parents, I don't know if they would have wanted me to do that when I was in high school. But I was like, oh man, I'm my own man. I'm just going to do it for funsies. So I hop in line in Nashville with I don't even know, 50,000 to 75,000 other people, throughout the course of the day. And I didn't have any expectations, Now I was nervous still because I was like, I would love to get on, but I really did not think anything was going to happen. But I auditioned. I thought I totally botched it. And then they were like, you know what? We think there's something here. We want to have you try some different covers. And they, the whole process ended up happening, but really nothing happened. That was really what drove me to go on America's Got Talent, was nothing was happening. And so I felt like it was time for me to kind of take a step into the unknown and just see what happened. And then America's Got Talent ended up happening.
Wow. Okay. So, because everyone I think would be really interested to hear about the behind the scenes process of that whole experience. We see the 4-minute, 5-minute highlight. But okay, so you audition, they interview you. How many interviews do you have to go through before they put you through to you're going to show up in front of Simon and the judges?
I can't remember all the details. I do remember let's see here. I auditioned. So they put you in one room where you audition in front of lower level producers. And then if they like you, they'll send you to a special little room, and then you'll be put in front of their main producers. And then after that, they'll say, we'll keep in contact. We'll see, if we want you on the show or not. And then if they reach out and say yes, that still doesn't guarantee that you're going to be on the show. I mean, the amount of people that even get to audition in front of Simon Cowell and all of them, I mean, you're looking at over 500, and about maybe 100 or 90 of them actually get TV spots. There'll be some times where someone auditions not only for the first one and gets all yeses, they get to the next round and still won't get a full TV spot. So it's crazy the amount of people that will even get to judge cuts, what they call them, second round, and they still won't get any TV time really. And that's just really crazy to think about. So I consider myself very blessed to even have a little bit of like a segment on the show. But yeah, the behind the scenes really was just for every minute. I heard this from one of the producers. They said for every minute of TV, there's like an hour of filming. So with me, I mean, we filmed a lot, but you know, they take the parts that they feel like will really create an interesting story and showcase that to the world. So that became my story. It was like they focused on the singles, never had a girlfriend, total high school reject, even though that's not exactly what the case was, and super awkward guy. And again, I am pretty awkward, but I think at that point I had no confidence in my social skills. And so when I was put in front of cameras, I did not know what to do with myself. I mean, it was so foreign to me. And I was very that's right, like starry-eyed. I was just looking at everything like, wow, like I'm in California, this is great. And I was very taken aback by just the sheer magnitude of like what America's Got Talent was. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, a little bit of behind the scenes. It's just a lot of filming, a lot of prep work, and then they just kind of take what they want to create a good, you know, interesting story for their contestants.
Yeah, I remember auditioning for Canadian Idol back in the day, and you know, it seems like they're really looking for the story. I mean, the talent's there too, but they're really looking for a good story to tell on television.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, it is interesting the things they pick with you, and just even meeting you at Immerse and seeing you in America's Got Talent. I was like, this is really funny, the angle they're playing here. You know, they're just trying to find something. I think just because the world is the way they are, it's like, oh, someone who's pure and single, we got to focus on that. Like, okay, that's really what you guys, it's like, there's a lot of other people like that out there. But were your parents there with you as well?
No, it was just me. It was me, like just solo. Because I think they have this rule that if you're 18 or under, or maybe it's if you're a minor, like they won't pay for your parents to come fly out with you. So for me, it was like, you know, I didn't want my parents spending money. So, I mean, they weren't really involved. They were in the position everyone else was in. Like they watched it on TV and that was their experience of it, which was kind of crazy. As well as some of my friends, or pretty much all my friends, you know, just getting that first glimpse on TV. Because I was only allowed to tell like very specific people because their contracts would state like, hey, you can't disclose this information. And so I wanted to be very sensitive to that and not just like go on social media and tell all the things that were kind of going on. And even to this day, is like, I'm sure there are things that I'm like, I probably should keep that to myself. Like that was information for me, I guess, in me and my family. But most of what I experienced, I feel like I can be pretty open about, and it's something stuff that everyone knows, you know?
Yeah. How long was it from the filming of your initial audition to it releasing?
I think it was filmed in January of, Oh, no, hold up. It was filmed in March of 2018 and it didn't premiere, at least my episode, until like June 18th or June 19th. It was around there. So I mean, they take, you know, 3 or 4 months to edit it all together. But for some people, it's a little bit sooner because I mean, they film, I think, all the way from like early February to the end of March. All auditions for the first round, which again, that's why sometimes, you know, you see Simon Cowell just like completely roasting. I mean, because if you're doing auditions for 2 months straight, I mean, like that's exhausting. Like every day you're walking in and you're just like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, so I totally get it when judges get a little bit cranky, because no one thinks
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my mind, I was thinking it was 3 days or something. Like it's all quick.
No, it's long process.
Wow. Okay, so once your audition came out, what happened? Were people calling you? Did your social media blow up, or was it slow? Or like what happened when that initial first? You sang "Hello," right?
Yeah, "Hello," Lionel Richie. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened after that aired?
So actually, crazy story. We were filming for the live shows, like my backstory, the day that my audition aired. So I wasn't able to see it like live, like in person. We were up at a location up in the mountains somewhere. And all of a sudden my phone just starts beep, 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 checking my Instagram follower count going up, up and up. And I was like, whoa, like this is crazy, you know, this, or is this like what it's like, what it feels like? And yeah, I mean, that was just, that moment was pretty insane. I kind of wish I was there to see it, but at the same time, like, oh my gosh, like I was pretty nervous about the audition even airing. So it kind of, I think looking back, I'm kind of glad I didn't see it, because I think I would have been stressed out of my mind. So just sitting, like filming for all these things, and then all of a sudden my phone goes off. It's like, oh, it must have aired. So yeah, but the initial reaction was very, very positive. Again, I look back and I kind of, you know, I'm just like, man, I was so nervous, and I really didn't give a performance that I really like, even to this day. But you know, things happen for a reason, and I'm kind of glad that I got that experience, even though it wasn't exactly like I didn't perform in the way that I'd like to. In fact, for the longest time, I was like, I'm gonna go, you know, audition for Idol or something like that, because I really want a chance to redeem myself, but I just never got a chance to. But yeah, you know, but people don't roast me too harshly. Some of my friends do for the auditions, but it's totally good. I feel fine.
I mean, I think the audition was pretty solid. I mean,
thank you.
The second episode is where the drama happened, and
Yeah.
or like which almost seems scripted to me. I was like, did the producers script that? Because it was this moment that it's like a dream moment for reality television, where your first song is like going okay, Simon stops you, and then you're like, can I do an original? And then you do it, and you just rock it, and it's a cool song. So was that unplanned? Like, does that happen naturally? What happened there?
And this is where it gets to things where I'm like, I think I can talk about this. Totally fine.
You don't have to say anything.
It's totally good. I think it's totally good. I can be pretty general about it, but that's not exactly how it went down. Like the filming, really what happened was, I mean, the editing magic for it is kind of ridiculous when I saw the actual episode, because I was actually on stage for about 9 minutes, and the interview part was very short. So there was a lot that happened. And basically the way they stitched it together, because my producer said, hey, we want you to do covers, don't do any originals. We're like, you're not ready for that, and I don't think any of your songs are good enough to do that. I was like, okay, cool. So I sang the first song in its entirety, and then I sang a couple different songs. Then they took a clip of Simon cutting off someone else and spliced it into mine. And then I shake my head, which did actually happen, but they made it look like, oh, like he stopped me. I must have been doing that. I'm telling you, I couldn't say everything, but the editing magic, because it does look like it all happens in real time. But I do remember people thinking like, oh, that's scripted. And I always wanted to kind of come against them and say, oh, it wasn't. But there was also like a whole slew of things that happened that I felt like I wasn't at liberty to share at the time. But now I'm like, oh yeah, I can share that. And it really is just the incredible producer, like the editors, whoever they're doing, like, or whoever's in charge over there, like they're able to splice things together. Cause you know, like I'm sure they would have loved to do the whole 9 minutes, you know, in the sense of it was really interesting what happened on stage, but you gotta condense. You can't have something that long. So they just were able to say, how do we do that, what happens, but how do we make it shorter and more like palatable? And ended up coming up with that. And so when I saw it live, I mean, my jaw was dropping, because I was like, how did they pull that off? Because it was kind of crazy. So
you must have still, because you said, is it okay if I do an original? You still kind of were taking a step there, because they said don't. Mm-hmm. So that must have been scary.
Oh yeah, mad scary. But I also saw it as like an opportunity, because the other songs that I'd sang were not going very well. And I was like, I need to do something that just like, that's unique to me, something different. And I'm so glad I did, because after I sang that song, whenever I released it to Spotify a couple months later, there was just so much like traction behind it. There were so many people who were ready for it to drop, that it really, I'd say, kind of boosted me to a level of artistry that I had never experienced before on Spotify and other streaming platforms. So I'm really grateful that I got to kind of step out and take that chance, and for it to pay off and do well. Yeah,
that's amazing. And then, so there's another round. Eventually, the journey ended. What was it like coming off that massive high? I mean, not many people have a high like that in life. They're on one of the biggest shows in television. People are loving them, or I'm sure you get criticism as well. You get everything when you get in the public eye, but
Yeah,
you know, mostly love, hopefully. And then it's done. So what were your thoughts there? I mean, how is that? How'd you process that?
I was actually glad to get off the show because it was really doing a lot for my stage fright at the time. I experienced stage fright like I had never experienced before. So getting off of the quarterfinals for the live shows was very relieving actually at the time. I mean, it was super stressful whenever, I got on stage, wasn't happy with my performance, and then I had to go on the red carpet and talk about it. I was like, I just wanted to hide. Like, I really did. I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to leave like that. I don't want to deal with this. So getting off was actually kind of a blessing in disguise. And then it was the label chasing thing again. After that, I was like, okay, I want to go see if any labels are interested because, hey, I got a little bit of a fan base, got some traction on some songs, blah, 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 blah. And labels, again, interested probably more than before, but still never a fully open door. Kind of got to a place where I almost got signed, but they were just like, we still think you need to grow up, have a little bit more life experience and write more songs. I was like, are you kidding? Like, I did all this, I went on America's Got Talent so that I could come and hopefully get signed. So I remember being pretty sad, but then I got this random call from Liberty University. They're like, hey, we got a worship team. We think you'd be a great fit for it. And I was very hesitant because I had been going to a small college. I loved small colleges. I'm like, I don't want to go somewhere huge. That sounds terrible. But I took a little bit of a leap of faith there too, because my sister lived there, my brother lived there, and I was like, wow, well, that's nice to have family there. So I said, I'll give it one semester. If I don't like it, I'll go back to my old college. And you betcha I fell in love with it. It was a great college. So, and I spent about 2.5 years there and just grew so much. Like, I grew way more at Liberty than I did my other college. And so I'm glad I got to experience that.
Nice. And then, so now you're signed with a label. So what was the progression from Liberty to that and that whole process? Your songwriting, how do you feel your songwriting even developed through that time? Or did you write much when you were at Liberty, or how did that work out?
I didn't write as much as I'd like to at Liberty. I think really what happened was I just was around other songwriters and started hearing trends and patterns in the way people were writing. And I became a little bit more pop focused when I got to Liberty, really learning what it means to hook people in with melodies. And, just getting older and just experimenting more with production. I think it just was an overall growth of more life experience. Weirdly enough, will bring better songs a lot of the times, at least. And from my experience, it's just getting older. I'm listening more intentionally to songs on Spotify. I'm like, why is that working? Because I think before I was just doing my own thing, which is cool because you get a cool, unique sound. But when you start blending your own unique style with what is also being sung, like in general, overall, you get this cool, like, blend of two worlds. And so, the transition from Liberty to Goatee was I did an internship with Keith Smith, who played for Toby Mac's band, or he still plays for them actually. Did like an internship for like a month, and he mixed one of my songs, and he's like, hey man, like, I'm gonna send some of your stuff over to Goatee. I've got some, connections there. And again, I mean, when he said that, I was like, oh, okay, fine. Like, I'd been through the label thing. I was like, there's no way they're gonna do anything. And then he sent it over. They called me and they're like, hey, we just want to like talk about what it would mean for you to, be an artist with us, or like relationship with you, blah, blah, blah. That was the first call. And she said, hey, for the second call, I'm going to get Toby to like join. Call Toby. And, me, the fangirl, like, it was hard for me to not freak out during that Zoom call. It's like, oh my gosh, it's Toby.
Yeah.
He said, Joseph, look, like, whoever I end up calling or like Zooming or whatever at the time, he's like, we end up signing that person. So hopefully you're like ready for that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I hopped off that call and I was like, there's no way that just happened. Like, that was the second phone call. I mean, like, I feel like I should like have more songs for them to like hear, but they were ready to hop on. And that was really exciting at the time. But yeah, it was really, I think I got to the point, I think really the most interesting thing about it was I'd gotten to the point at Liberty where I was very trusting in the Lord through the process. Mm-hmm. Because I think before I was very much trying to pry open doors whenever I could. Like, I want to talk to this label. Like, why isn't this working? And I was always searching for the label. And I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be faithful, write songs, and if the Lord chooses to open up a door, then I trust him through that process. He's sovereign. So, I mean, like, he's got me, and I don't know what it means. Like, and I just started to become more confident that, like, yes, God's called me to utilize the gifts he's given me for music, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like me being an artist. I mean, even now I have to hold the artist thing with an empty hand, because I mean, nothing is like kind of come out yet that's like taken off in a sense. So it's like, even now I have to trust the Lord through the process, that it's like, okay, if this doesn't work out, like, I still would be fully content being like a worship pastor at a church. Because like, I just want to serve the Lord through music in any way that I can, and hopefully provide for a family. That's the goal. And you kind of touched on it earlier. I think a lot of people have these grandiose dreams of like, I want to play for, you know, a coliseum of people or a big, you know, arena, which I would say those aren't bad dreams. And to like, I think that'd just be cool. Like, me personally, I'm like, man, that would be really cool to like play for a big, you know, stage and a lot of people listening to your music. But that should never be like the drive in you. Like, ultimately, hopefully the drive in you is like, I want to glorify the Lord, but also another drive for me is like, I just want to be able to provide for a family. Like, I want to be a good dad, good husband, not married, but like in the future and stuff. So it's like, that's really what drives me. And I feel like that's a more realistic goal. And if that stuff ends up coming in the future, then it's like, glory be to God. And like, wow, like, that's amazing that it ended up happening. But I would say those are like the dreams of dreams. My actual dream is like, I just want to be able to like make a living doing music. I think that would be incredible. But then again, I could wake up tomorrow and who knows, like, what if I lost my gift to sing tomorrow? Would I still be fulfilled? It's like, yeah, because my relationship with the Lord is primary, and that's what should drive me in all things in life, is to glorify him in all things. So if that means I have to go be a server at a restaurant for the rest of my life, like, I could do that and do it joyfully, hopefully. I mean, I say that in theory, I know it'd be really tough, but it's like, yeah, it's like, I say it, but if it happened tomorrow, like, woo, that'd be tough. But you have to think that way, because ultimately music should never be the God of our lives. God should be God. So just a little bit of a rant.
It's amazing. No, that's awesome. I love that. So I want to talk to you about some of your songs. Okay. I'm just opening up my Apple Music top songs here.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting is, I mean, it's not two sides of you, but you have like the singer-songwriter part of you. Like, the average, I'd say, is a bit more singer-songwriter. And I almost feel like you're like a Christian. Have you heard of Anson Seabra?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you gotta check him out. He's just this really emotional, honest, raw singer-songwriter that just, he's got like, you know, millions and millions of views, but he just does piano vocals, and it's just so raw and connects with you, which like, from what I heard at Immerse, and when you're on America's Got Talent, you like gave that side of you. But then you also can rock the pop side, where you're like, on your bio it even says for King Country Owl City, you know, like your voice sounds so natural in those pop worlds. So with your music that you're creating right now, are you aiming more at pop, or are you kind of mixed in a bit of singer-songwriter stuff in there, or where are you kind of at right now?
Yeah, I'd say right now we're taking a little bit of a, like, I always had two dreams. I was like, oh, like, I want to do the singer-songwriter thing, but then I also loved like Lauv and Lainey. And so I was experimenting for a while, like trying to figure out what fit my vibe the most. And we've kind of gotten to the point, or at least me, I've gotten to the point where I want to combine in the most balanced way possible, hopefully, like that organic and programs. I mean, for King and Country is doing it really well. And, you know, I think a lot of artists are really blending it, but Coldplay is like my biggest inspiration. Like, I love Coldplay. So if I can make anything that sounds remotely close to them, like, that's really my goal. So a lot more electric guitars in the future, more real drums instead of programs. Because my last two singles very much reflected, hey, I love pop. This is what I can do in the pop world. And my old stuff was more that singer-songwriter, organic sounding stuff. And now I have a way more clear vision that it's like, hey, we want to combine those in the coolest way possible, and just make probably more Coldplay-ish sounding stuff. That's kind of where I'm at right now, and where I think because you want to make sure as an artist you have that I don't know, consistency in your sound so that people are like, oh yeah, like this sounds like a Joseph O'Brien song, rather than like all the time saying, oh, here's this and this. I feel like at some point you can be like, here's this and this, and people are like, oh, that works. But right now, when you're a new artist, I think it's important that you're like giving people consistency in your content. So that's why it was hard, because I was like, maybe I need to keep making stuff like Give Up on Love and Stages, because then there's gonna be consistency. But I think there's a way that it will still feel kind of consistent with that, but also consistent with my old stuff at the same time, by just blending it in a really cool way. So
yeah, and I guess the cool thing too is that I don't know if it's mandatory, but it's super popular that if you do a pop song, you do an acoustic piano vocal, guitar vocal of it anyways, to go on like one of these acoustic playlists. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds. Even if you rock your pop side, you can still give us that emotional singer-songwriter side as well with an acoustic cover. And then, so the Give Up on Love song, when I heard it, because I think I heard it on a playlist of, it was on some playlist on Apple Music that I subscribe to, whether it's like Everyone or one of the super popular ones. And I was like, oh, is he going mainstream? Because I was like, okay, it's like a love song. And it's like, I mean, in Christian music today, you don't put labels on anything. It's just whatever you want to do. It's like everything's good. It's not like you have to be somewhere. But with your music, are you trying to maybe reach the world as well? Or you still kind of feel like you're called to Christians, or just, I'm going to throw whatever I am out there and just whoever likes it, likes it?
Yeah, it's hard because this is something I've thought about a lot. Because I mean, I grew up listening to Relient K, Switchfoot, and they had kind of that one step in Christian, but one step also in mainstream.
Yeah.
And so I think there will be music that I releases that can cross, but I also have that passion of just releasing music that I feel like really relates to just like the normal everyday Christian in a sense. And the church, that's it. Really the church, but not in a congregational way. Because I love writing worship. I've been probably writing more worship in the past 2 years of my life than I did combined for, 20 years. And I think there's a real need for like refreshing creative songs that are very scripture infused and very Christocentric, especially for people my age, because I think people my age have a very bad taste in their mouth for Christian music right now, in CCM especially, like the pop world. I think a lot of them love worship and the authenticity of that. So my goal is to bring that authenticity, and hopefully in a very creative way in CCM that still, hopefully can be played on radio, we don't know, but reaches people my age, and hopefully because I know people my age, they love for King and Country for the most part. They're like, oh yeah, they're really cool, they're really different and unique, and they're getting, radio time, but also creating just very interesting content. And that's really my goal, is like, I want to be able to be a voice that when people think of CCM, they don't just think of like, the things they dislike, but they think of the things that they really like, and hopefully it's inspiring for them to listen to, and for people to, have a deeper walk with Christ ultimately. Because that's really what I would love, is like youth for Christ. Like I love seeing kids get fired up about scripture, fired up about Jesus. And hopefully I can do that through songs in a creative way, where you just hear a lot of God's word, a lot of God's promises, a lot of God's joy and love, and all of the things. So that's kind of the goal.
That's amazing. So there's a lot of people listening right now who would want to be where you are. They're like, I want to be on America's Got Talent or American Idol. I want to be on a record label. What would you say as advice to whether they're 16 years old or 36 or 56, and they're like, I want to do something in music? What kind of advice would you give them for maybe next steps, or just some key principles that they could take to pursue that in some way?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I feel like I felt like I was going to get asked this question at some point in my life, and I was like, what am I going to say whenever this comes up? I still feel like I'm figuring stuff out as things go, which is great, because again, as a new artist, that really should be the mentality. Like I should never act like I got it all together, because I don't. I can just know the things that have helped me. I'm gonna try and do like a Baptist 3 points here. It's like first,
the same letter. Start with the same letter.
yeah. I don't know if I can do the same letter thing, but my three, I could try and just say three things. The one that I hear the most, and oh my word, it annoyed me so much for the longest time, but it's so true, which is just like, write. There's just like, write songs, keep writing songs. And because you just like any exercise, like hitting the gym or playing tennis or anything, you have to like exercise those muscles that you continually get better. Like, and that's what I'm trying to do right now is I'm just trying to write. So that's number one. I think two, learn the importance of collaboration, because I think even me as an artist, I was like, I do everything better myself. And in some cases, there are things I do really good myself, but I've learned just through the course of these pretty much like past 3 or 4 years where my weaknesses, like you have to just start learning yourself as an artist. Like, here are my weaknesses, here are my strengths. So let me bring in someone that is strong in the areas that I'm not. So if that means lyrics, it's like, I need someone who's better at lyrics. Like, learn to collaborate, because collaboration, oh my word, and it's so much more fun too. I think writing by myself can be so miserable because I'm like, I'll have something and then I'll listen the next day. I'm like, I don't like that, but why do not, like in the moment it felt good. But I think it's just because we need other people to bring out the best in us, and hopefully we bring out the best in other people. So I've been learning like co-writing is just a lot more fun sometimes than just me doing myself. So yeah, writing, collaboration, and then 3 is kind of, I touched on it earlier, but having the right, I think it's having the right goal. It's not even having a goal, because you can have the wrong goals because they'll fuel something in you that can breed arrogance or breed pride, which is, again, if your goal is, I want to sing for the most people as possible, and I want people to, like, in a sense, it's a harsh way of saying this, but like, I want people to worship me rather than God. Like, that's not a right goal. It's like, you want to have the right goals, which are founded in scripture, which is, I want to just be faithful with the gifts that God has given me. So the goal should be, really, yeah, it's like, I want to glorify the Lord through the gifts he's given me, and whoever will listen is a blessing. And I don't want to like focus on how do I grow. It's more to how to like grow in the sense of people. Oh, I'm getting there. There's something to this. It's like grow an audience. I want to grow my relationship with the Lord. It's like, you want to think more, I think, spiritually with your goals rather than hopefully a business mindset, which again is tough because I'm signed to a label. So I mean, I can get caught in that way of thinking all the time. But yeah, I'd say those are the 3 things. It's just, yeah, like writing a lot, collaborating a lot, and then growing your relationship with the Lord a lot. So those are the
those are good. That's a good sermon right there. That's a mini sermon.
Yeah, there you go.
That's amazing. Hey, well, thank you so much for being here today. It was awesome to hear your journey. And where can people connect with you or touch base or follow you and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, I try to, respond to my Instagram DMs as much as I can. Especially now, there's not a lot coming in. So if someone wants to reach out to me, like JV O'Brien Music on Instagram. Instagram is really the best way. Or what are other, like Facebook, I don't really check too much. It's really like Instagram. Oh, TikTok, JV O'Brien Music. I do TikTok too. And that's a good way to reach me. So TikTok, Instagram, JV O'Brien Music, or just type in Joseph O'Brien. Hopefully it pops up.
Okay, awesome. Well, since you said TikTok, I got to ask you this because
yes,
a lot of artists who are more, I don't want to call them old, but different generations, like they're not on TikTok yet. So let's have a quick talk about TikTok for artists. Oh, sure. How do you use TikTok? Because I imagine you're using it well. Yeah. How do you approach that? And do you approach it different than Instagram?
Yeah, actually, if there's one thing I feel like I'm pretty qualified to talk on, this would be the topic. Like, I'm like, okay, I know TikTok pretty well because I have a little bit of a following. A lot of people would think I have a lot because I have like 150 something thousand on TikTok, but like compared to most other content creators, that's actually not that much. Like it is hard to get there. But I feel like if you've hit like 500,000 or above, like you're a serious content creator on TikTok because you're having regular engagement. But with TikTok, oh my word, where do I even start? I think it's super cool to utilize TikTok because the algorithm is way more friendly than Instagram is. So what I always tell people with TikTok is really find out what your audience is and what you want to do and be consistent in posting and also your content, like what it revolves around. So for me, for the longest time, I didn't really know what I was going to do content wise. And so I developed a little bit of a following from like a viral video here or a viral video there. But then I found this thing with VeggieTales where I just started taking VeggieTales covers and modernizing them. And I started posting those like every day. and people were just eating them up for the longest time because they're like, okay, this is the VeggieTales dudes. So for like all of COVID, like 2020, like I was VeggieTales guy. Took a little bit of a break from TikTok, which honestly makes me sad because I had a lot of traction, but it's just a lot of work. And now I've been trying to find little things really within the Christian, like I'm trying to fill gaps in Christian comedy and music, which is like, I was taking worship songs, turning them into minor mode rather than major mode. I was taking, I'm just like really finding a lot of Christian content that can be comedic at the same time. And that's been taking off a little bit. I did one on like Christian cussing, like just growing up and like using the words that I know every Christian relates to, because you're not allowed to say cuss words, you know, when you're in a Christian home for the most part. And so I did a whole video on the substitutions and like ranking them from like least edgiest to most edgy, and that one like took off. So I think it really is just be consistent and find what audience, you know, you want to like speak to. For me, it is Christian audience. And whenever something does well, because I'm telling you, if you're consistent enough, there's a guy I know, his name's Garrett. He literally just had a video blow up and he called me with the same question. He's like, how do I do this? I said, post. And when something blows up, hop on that post, like, and make part 2s to it, part 3s, part 4s. You really do need to like suck the nectar out of that video as much as you can. And then you just keep posting till something else works, and then posting. And a lot of times it takes a good amount of time. But I think TikTok is the best way to have your like a good shot at actually doing well at a social media platform that the algorithm can be very friendly towards. Instagram, I still haven't hit that. Like Instagram is very difficult. I think Instagram is way more difficult than TikTok to have a video go viral and for people to actually, you know, to have an established following on. But yeah, I'm a little bit of a geek with TikTok. I'm kind of obsessed with like all the ins and outs of it and how it works. And yeah, I think it's a great tool. And I think a lot of people write it off because like TikTok was viewed as the dumbest thing for the longest time. They're like, oh, I don't want to use TikTok because that's like super cheesy. But it really is the new Vine. It really is. Like everyone loves it. People get pretty addicted to it pretty quickly because it's so entertaining. And yeah, I think TikTok changed the game. And I don't think anyone should write it off as something that they can't use. I think a lot of artists should be able to use it more.
So good. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, that's great inspiration, because I think lots of people are scared of it, either because they think they don't fit in that mold, or it's just new. It's like something else to learn. So it sounds like you're doing well. I'll have to check that out. I'm not on it yet, but even for Christian Music Mentor, I'm like, maybe we should start a TikTok. So that's cool. Well, hey, great to talk to you. And all the best with your music. Look, is there any time frame yet on new singles, or you're still working on those, writing and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're working on 3 right now. So I would assume that if they're gonna be released, we're looking at the summer, like looking at May, maybe June. So I'd be looking out then. That'd be my guess.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, great to see you, man. Bless you and all your music. And thanks so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it, man.